watched the video of you dyeing your hair.
That was an experience.
Yeah.
I thought I would do it for fun. It was not fun. It was sore.
Really?
Oh yeah. It burns.
I used to dye
don't do it
my
one
hair
day.
like bleach blonde when I was younger, and I had like a big massive like blonde fringe that would come down, and my head would my scalp would burn for like hours, man.
Yeah, I'm firmly in that boat. Although I just didn't stop there. I went grey. Supposed to be like metallic silver, but I just aged myself
Philip
terribly.
Schofield look.
It's exactly what I was going for.
Yeah.
Congrats on the baby, by the way.
Thank you, man.
Impending baby.
Yeah. Impending doom for some, but
is that baby number 3?
Yeah, so I've got a stepson, and this will be my second. So 3 technically, but
4 in reality.
No. 3. 2 that are mine, but 1 that's kind of mine. Yeah.
a semi your child.
Semi, yeah. Semi. So what's been happening, man? Apart from just blowing up on YouTube and stuff.
Oh God, not a huge amount apart from the YouTube stuff, which is all. It's actually felt like a really slow crawl, weirdly, because I suppose to other folk it would seem really, really fast, but I've kind of not had the chance because of lockdown and stuff, having the kid around and coaching is just getting busier and busier and busier. That my content's just been like slow as hell, but it's been a steady climb.
Do you feel like because you've had to it's been slow that you've actually put the content you are putting out is greater? Like you're not just chasing do you know what I mean? Like the sort of like for podcasting, you're trying to I don't do it anymore, but at the start I was trying to look at things that were going on so that I could get clickbaity titles and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
I see. Yeah, there's that kind of chasing the views kind of thing where I avoid. I don't know if I said this in the last one, but I avoid doing music videos as best as I can, because you just don't know what's happened in the studio. You could take an educated guess at effects and reverb and compression and whatever else, but people don't really care about that anyway.
Two totally different experiences as well. You actually get some great studio singers and some great live singers, and sometimes they don't cross over.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose if I was chasing views, I'd probably be going for music videos. Mm-hmm. You'd wait for them to come out and then record them straight away, put them out straight away. But I'm doing stuff from the 90s. I just don't care to do what interests me.
A series where it was specifically aimed at music videos or something? I don't know.
I kind of want to do a series where I work with folk that have studio knowledge. Because although I've recorded my own vocals a bunch of times and I've recorded vocals for other people who have then played about with them, I'd love in real time to watch the process and have somebody explain it. I'm sure there's YouTube channels like that, so I'll maybe try and collab. But the reason it kind of popped into my head was I did a reaction to this band called Baby Metal. Have you heard of them?
I've heard of them. I'd need to hear something to...
They're a Japanese metal band.
Right.
Kawaii. They're kind of dressed like little cute girls, like little Red Riding Hood.
Okay.
I think there's 3 of them. I've only heard 1. And then all the guys in the band look like Samara from The Ring or Pinhead from Hellraiser.
When you first said that, I thought that was the guys.
But there's this point in one of the videos where she's cut to an effect. It's like a compression saturation thing. So they've boosted her vocal signal and then chopped the top and bottom end off.
Right.
So it sounds really like lo-fi or she's speaking through a megaphone. But at that point in the show, she tips her head upside down and sings upside down. And I was so I paused it and I was this is an effect. I'm not sure whether this is a pedal that they can click on live and then click off,
Yeah.
or whether it's pre-recorded and that bit she just mimes and then gets back into it later. And I got so many comments like, no, what was it they said? That she puts the mic up under her nose to make that sound. and I was like, but where does she put the mic normally if not under her nose? Like, your mouth is under your nose. So I didn't quite understand.
I think what probably is the case is when you're at that level in touring, usually you're working with like the same live engineer and the same monitoring engineer and stuff, and they'll have like effects, like the same way that you would have a lighting engineer. They basically map out the light show for the whole night. So
exactly.
It'll probably be that kind of thing where it'll be an actual effect that they'll put on.
And they can just click it on and click it off, like a preset type thing. But this whole like the mic being shoved under her nose thing kept coming back and back and back. So I was like, where is this coming from? So I actually asked one of the people that commented, I was like, I've seen this so many times. Where are you getting this information from? Mm-hmm. And it was just another reaction person. And they saw it and they paused it and they went, whoa, that's so cool. I didn't know that that's how you made that sound. She's just put the mic under her nose and that's how you get the lo-fi sound. I was like, that's not how that works. But cool all you need is, it's like a lie.
If you put the mic here, it gives you delay.
Exactly. It's like a lie goes halfway around the world before the truth's even got its shoes on, you know?
Yeah.
So not that it's a lie. It's just like, it's not a dangerous misinformation, but it's
create
just
some beef, create some reaction, vocal coach beef. That's what you need.
I shouldn't I?
Yeah.
That's how you build.
Start reacting to vocal coaches. That's what you should do.
Yeah, just like wrong. Yeah. That would make me super popular, I'm sure.
This could be like a part of your alter ego with the new hair.
Yeah. New hair, beef, don't care.
Beef man.
I'm not sure I want to be described as beef man. I mean, I'll if that's the moniker, then I'll take it. But you know, beef man.
I'll take what you can get. I'm actually drinking. I usually drink ginger tea. When I started caring about my voice, I would drink ginger tea when I was on stage and stuff. And then I read somewhere that ginger tea isn't actually that good for you, so I kind of drank ginger tea just as tea after that.
Right. Okay.
And there's no ginger tea left, so I'm drinking chamomile tea.
I love a chamomile tea.
Yeah.
I'm drinking peppermint and licorice.
Nice.
It's like sweet, but I'm also drinking sparkling water with ginger in it.
So the ginger is good.
Well, ginger's like a natural anti-inflammatory, I think. So if I drink it, I drink it in like a homemade tea. It's got honey in it, raw ginger, and like a dash of cayenne pepper and a slice of lemon.
Right.
And it does me pretty well.
Nice.
But the peppermint and licorice is just like sweet. It's quite soothing.
I would go through I would have a full flask and I would go through like maybe 4 cups of tea in like a gig, and I just felt like it was totally drying out my throat. Like the ginger was drying out my throat.
I mean, it might. It just depends on what your body kind of reacts to with ginger. I eat so much of it that I suppose it's just like it's used to it by now.
One of the things, obviously, this is like most people will do this, but like I would fill a flask. Like if I was struggling, I'd fill a flask with like just lemon and honey. But I'd put like a full lemon in the flask and like basically like half a bottle of fucking honey, and it would definitely get me through the gig. But see, the next day, man, like my teeth were just like coated in sugar, man. It was horrendous.
Furry.
Yeah. Horrible.
Well, the thing with like hydrating is if you're needing to do it because your voice is dry, then you're probably better getting like a steamer, or even like getting the venue that you're in to make you like a cup or a flask of something boiling, and just try and soak up the vapor.
Yeah.
Because actually, if you think about the way that the voice or the body is kind of set up, your voice box is attached to your trachea, or your trachea, however you want to say it, and your larynx is in there, and then your esophagus is behind that. So every time we swallow something, it's not going anywhere near the vocal folds because you would die. Like if it went down that chute, you'd be in serious trouble. So it takes about 4 hours for the hydration of what you're drinking to actually get back into the folds through like osmosis, I think is the right term.
Osmosis? Is that like an Indian food or something?
No. It's the idea of water molecules going from a dense place to a sparse place and then like leveling out, I think.
Okay.
Biology was not my strong suit, and now I'm doing vocal anatomy, which is a lark.
I seen something recently that you put like a diagram together and someone like stole it.
Oh, yeah. So this one is actually kind of funny because I don't mind people using my work. Like I don't really care. I want people to learn more about vocals, so I'm quite happy to share that information. But I got an email about doing coaching, and I was like, okay, cool, blah blah blah, and it was kind of set up like she was a novice, like, oh, I just really love to learn to sing X, Y, and Z, blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, that's fine, cool. So usually I would say do like one session with me first, and then if you like it, I've got like blocks of 4, so you can like take a month at a time or spread them out however. But she went straight in and booked a month, which was like, okay, that's a bit odd. You might not like my teaching style, but we started. No, we didn't start. I went and looked at her page thinking there must be some kind of examples of her singing somewhere. And then I saw that she had shared a dance school post on her social media, and it was one of my drawings. And I was like, right, okay. So then I went into the dance school, got into the website, and like a bunch of my images were there. And it's like they'd watched one of my videos and like regurgitated one of my like little monologues, but I'd got all the information back to front. So she said that cartilage was super bendy. And I'm like, what's cartilage isn't really bendy. And a bunch of other stuff, but it was just completely false. And then I looked up, and she was the head vocal coach of this theatre school.
What?
So I was like,
that's
right,
crazy, man.
So it's like either you're lying to the people that are going to be paying you to teach them, or you're lying to me and you're like testing me for some reason, or you think that I'm going to teach you and you have to stay one lesson ahead of your students, which doesn't work because people have totally different vocal needs. Like vocal coaching is never the same thing. Like twice. Everyone's got a different voice. More
right. If they've been appointed this role, they're probably shitting it and being like, I'm going to actually need to learn. Like people have asked me to do vocal lessons, and I'm like, I there's nothing that I could teach you. Like everything I've learned has been by accident, and I think I'm just lucky that I've landed in a place where I can sustain my vocals for 3 hours, and I don't know what I'm doing, but I've just managed it. And along the way, I could have damaged it somewhere and not been able to do that.
Well, that was the thing. I was asked a question about that, like coaching versus natural talent, and I was like, you could become a fantastic singer and never need a vocal coaching session. And that's totally fine if you can make a healthy sound and you can sustain it and stuff. The vocal coaching would help you understand how you are doing it. It might not necessarily change your voice, but then it also gives you the tools to kind of move your voice about and change stuff up if you want to. But no, I wouldn't ever say like every single person has to have vocal coaching. There's some folk, like Filipino singers, for example, they just seem to live in karaoke booths and they just copy and copy and copy until they have this like strong voice. But yeah, you certainly like teaching would be harder if you have only an understanding of your own voice and not the voice in general.
Yeah, definitely.
Certainly try.
Do you want to do some lessons, man? Send me some diagrams.
Well, yeah.
I definitely won't use them on potential students.
That's right. I've actually sent them to other people to use with their students who I know as vocal coaches. Like I honestly am not precious about my content. I was like, just tag me in it if you're gonna like put it on your page, like repost it or something.
Is that something that you would consider doing, like starting a training school for vocal coaches?
Maybe like down the road. The model that I study at the moment is called Estel voice training, and it's like a scientific approach to singing, which kind of covers absolutely everything. But I feel like there's maybe some avenues I'd want to go down, like rock singing, metal singing, like Mongolian throat singing, like cover all of these like weird kind of niche singing styles, and then maybe throw my own model together. Okay. That doesn't sound very professional, does it? Throw my own model together.
No, it actually sounds ideal. It's kind of like mixed martial arts. It's like if you want to fight, you got to know
exactly
all the different styles.
And exactly, that's the thing. You have to know. What was someone said to me the other day? I have to teach you the rules so you can break them. I was like, that makes sense, because I think a lot of like singing, either just regular singers or singing coaches, they'll find their comfort zone, and then everything out with that is that's unhealthy, that's unsustainable, that's this, that's that, and depending on which camp you sit in, they're like firing the same accusations over at the other.
Yeah.
So it's like I kind of want to bridge all of those gaps and be like, no. Like metal singing is as hard as opera singing for sure.
Yeah,
I would, but you know,
something I could never figure out. Like, because growing up, I liked metal and I liked heavy rock music. Like, one of my favorite singers when I was younger was Dave Grohl. I just and Kurt Cobain. I wish I could sound like that. And I would my drummer Gary that plays in my solo stuff. Like, I've played every band I've played in. He's been the drummer, and when we were younger, we'd like do Nirvana covers, and I'd be singing this little like poppy, like American pop punk type voice.
Here we are now. Love it. I'm the same. I do everything breathy. All of my go-to sounds are breathy. But with textured sounds, there's so many different places it can come from. So the metal community, the way they describe their singing styles actually kind of confuses me a little bit, because they talk about false chord singing, or false fold singing, I would call it. And false chord to me is that your false vocal folds, when they come together and they squeeze, you get that kind of sound. But some of them describe it like that, and they kind of add voice through that, which I don't think is very healthy, but that's besides the point. Others describe it as letting them relax and blowing air through and allowing them to kind of rattle about a bit like a grunt, like that.
Right.
Then you've got your arytenoids, which open and close your vocal folds. So you would get sounds kind of similar. And then you've got fry, kind of bubbling sound. You can take that up and move that around. And then there's your velum, so that it's a combination of all these things, and I just have to work out how it's all happening at once, and then I'll be the king of metal.
Yeah, definitely.
I will not.
There's also like, see when you're having, I don't know, like if you've been singing for like maybe 2 hours into like a wedding or whatever, and there's a part of like the rasp in your voice that you're sort of just breathing through. Does that make sense? Like that's how I feel I'm doing it anyway. Like I'm breathing through certain notes and it's picking up some rasp on the way. It doesn't feel like I'm generating any sort of strain or anything on my voice.
That
I don't know,
sounds a little bit false vocal foldy. Right. So your false, say if you think of your larynx and your true vocal folds sit here, your false vocal folds sit over the top, and then your epiglottis like is over the top of that. Your false vocal folds can like interrupt the airflow. So if you go, that they're going to pass through here. So if you've aggravated your false vocal folds, or if they're just not playing ball, you're going to get a little bit of that texture as the air passes through them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
So it could be that.
Yeah.
But
making me realise more and more that I probably don't sing right.
I'd argue with even the wording of like, what is the right way to sing? As long as it's not sore, and as long as you're like comfortable in your own style, then I would say you're singing it right. The other side of that coin is
like about sustainability. Like, for how long can I sing? There's videos of like when I was on tour with my old band, and like 3 songs in. It's mad to think about this now, right? Because you would go and do a gig and play for like half an hour.
Yeah.
And now I can do like 3 nights in a row when I'm playing about 3.5 hours worth of music. But like back then, I'd be singing like a half an hour set, 3 songs in, and my voice is just gone, man. And like, it's so weird to think about, like, the difference.
That sounds like a setup kind of issue,
right?
Like, there's ways to make the sound that you want to make without it taking up like all of your energy. Somebody described it once as like a currency. Like, you've got a certain amount of money that you can spend in a day, vocal money. I think it was another YouTuber actually. And once you've spent your $20, your voice is going to give out. And certain things are more taxing. So like heavy texture, belting, super breathy stuff, they're all going to take their toll on your voice as you do it. But there's like healthy ways to kind of sing. Have you ever been in a situation, for example, where your voice is giving out and you just drop the key of everything into like a more comfortable place?
A couple of times, yeah. Not particularly on songs that we already do, but maybe like a first dance, or I'm trying to think. Like, in fact, something that I have done when my voice is like caving is actually like, what's it called? Like sing falsetto instead of full voice.
So, by falsetto, what do you mean by falsetto? Like, what does that sound like to you?
Like the breath.
Sorry, I'm putting you up and
like, sing?
no. So that to me would be an aspirate thin fold. I need to get something to. Right, hold on. This is going to be a really weird example, right? So if you think about the way that vocal folds work, if you split them into slack, thick, thin, and stiff, we'll go through them and then I'll explain how they fall into other classifications. So slack is fry. That's your vocal folds getting as short as they can, and then they kind of relax and the air just kind of works its way out in a kind of erratic fashion. Then you've got thick. That's where they come together at 2 points, the bottom edge of the vocal fold and the top edge, and the air has to push all the way through before it comes back to the beginning. Then you've got thin. That's one mass model. That's where it comes through at the top end. And then you've got stiff. This is totally different because the arytenoids, which are the things that open and close your vocal folds, it's like they open up the back of your vocal folds and then they sit stiff. So you get it's really like I'm doing it too low, so it sounds terrible. But it's like this with a cable. See, there's a space that air gets through the whole time, and that would be considered falsetto. So there's 2 ways to figure out if you're in falsetto. One is you can't get louder because you need to thicken up to get louder, and you can't if they're being held open. And 2 is you can't take it down your register. It sounds crap, as you just heard from me. So if you're saying, it's probably thin fold.
Right.
That's breathy. Yeah. Because it's a little bit more connected. But so what you're describing there is when your voice is taking a hammering, you probably thin out your vocal folds. So there's less resistance to the air. and you have
And
like
is
an
that
easier
something
time
that
of it.
would technically sustain? It feels like it does sustain my voice, but
Yeah, well, I mean, you're giving it less energy, I suppose. Like, there's less work to it on a purely like vocal fold place. Like, you're not doing this, you're doing this, so it is a little bit less.
Have you ever like
taxing.
analysed Sam Smith's voice? Like, well, just as a coach, I suppose, but I think
I've done a song of his, but not his voice.
Like, obviously, after you tell me that, I have a bit more of understanding what falsetto is. I just had a kind of standard, well, this is falsetto. Some people's falsetto sounds like this. Some people's
but that's the thing.
Sounds like that.
Everybody does that. Anything high they think is falsetto, and if sometimes I'll hear a really breathy thin fold and I'll think, oh, that's falsetto, but it's not.
Does your voice, like, if you're listening to a song, does your voice like go, like, sometimes I get a sore voice and I don't even sing because I'm listening to the singer. It feels like I'm trying to find where they're singing from. With Sam Smith, I feel like I do that when I hear his voice, because it sounds like he's singing falsetto, but he has so much weight behind it. Like, he sings from the back of his throat. That's what it feels like if I try and imitate his voice.
So his voice is it's definitely thin fold as far, like, for the most part. He'll sometimes pop into falsetto. If you think about the Bond song he did, that then he'll start to come into that was really flat, but you know what I mean. He'll fall back into his thin fold position, which is why it's so strong. Because if it was falsetto, he wouldn't be able to project that loud. But yeah, he's got a really unique setup to his voice, whereas thin folds sound super heavy. Yeah, it's almost like a siren. Yeah, car alarm.
Are you conscious when you're singing of these like those different names? What's the right word?
Of like what I'm doing?
Categories of falsetto, or what's considered falsetto. Like, sometimes, are you conscious? Are you in? Oh, that's thin.
I suppose now I am, because I'll think if I want to project something a little bit more, I'll think I need to thicken up on it. Okay. So if I was to take like a note like and I'm like, I want a bit more punch or bite, I just thicken up on the sound and it projects more. Yeah. So I suppose in that way, yes. But you have to kind of strike a balance between being super technical and also understanding that you're singing a song which is supposed to touch people emotionally. Yeah. You know, people don't want to be impressed. They want to be moved. But yes, it's
I feel like I spent a long time, like I said there, when I was younger, I listened to like a lot of rock and pop punk and all that stuff. So I had this it was just all about singing the melodies and not really focusing on what I was doing vocally. And then I went through, like, basically when I met Katie, she's like just naturally like a phenomenal singer. Like, she just can trill and
nice,
amazing voice, man. And she got me listening to like Beyonce and fucking Stevie Wonder and all these like incredible singers. And I started being like, how the fuck did I do that? And I started being able to trill down the scales. And then I was like, how the fuck do you do it up the scale? And then started learning that stuff. And then I felt like when I was learning all of that sort of like deviated from the melodic side of it. So I've managed to find a balance between being able to input emotion, especially when I'm writing, input emotion and focus on melody.
For sure. It's a huge balancing act to kind of strike. I'll see if I'm teaching a student and they're singing a song and I can tell that they're just doing it because they want to open up their voice, I will get them to read the lyrics to me without any melody. And they're like 9 times out of 10, you know, unless they're singing something that has no emotional integrity whatsoever, like, I don't know, fast food rockers, who knows? they'll go, "Oh, I didn't really think about it like that." And I'm like, "Right, okay, so now you've got like your character.
Yeah.
You need to add that into your vocal." And I think the thing is that you need to be willing to forgive vocal oddities and stuff in the pursuit of getting it right emotionally. Like I would never sit and go to like Willie Nelson, like, "Oh, that wasn't particularly well done," you know, like, or you can make that sound a little bit more twangy. Like, there's no point because that's not the kind of singing that he does.
I think that he can implement a lot of emotion in what he sings. It's sometimes like some of his stuff is like just spoken through the melody.
Yeah,
and it's beautiful, man.
I think I like Tony Bennett. He has this amazing aged sound. I mean, it's because he is quite old now, but if you were to sit and take that from a pure vocal health perspective, you'd maybe want him to get away from so much of the fry kind of sound. If you wanted it to be like a healthy sung sound, but it doesn't serve what he's doing, so you would never go in and change that. You know, so it's one of those things where, like, as a coach, you have to weigh up, like, what's the end result that the person wants to get to, and can I get them there healthily? You know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't change somebody's like tone or anything just because I wanted to hear like a cleaner sound if that's not what they were going for.
What is it you think makes, like, and this isn't like, you know, like what's the best kind of singing? Like we were talking about like rock and pop and all that kind of stuff. But what do you think makes a good voice so that can like cross all of those genres? Because you can go and see a great rock singer, and then you can go and see a terrible rock singer that's maybe like, not that they're singing out of tune, but it's just not a good voice. Does that make sense? Like I could go and see a guy like doing a cover of the Foo Fighters, and he could sing the songs well, but it's not
The
Dave
same.
Grohl. You know, like what makes a good voice, man?
So, right. There's different elements to this. There's performance versus intimacy versus uniqueness versus talent, like just raw talent. So, for example, somebody like Jessie J. I don't know if I've used this analogy before, but Jessie J is one of the best singers in the world, in my opinion. Like, you could sing something at her, or you could make a sound like generated out of a computer and she'd be able to copy it. She's laser focused on like vocal agility. Does that necessarily translate into a really connective sound? Like, can you connect with the emotion of some of her stuff? I would argue that maybe not. It's almost too good. It's almost too well produced, and the voice is going way past what's enjoyable at times. But then when she did the singer show, she was fantastic. She had to kind of rein herself in because she was singing other people's songs.
Right.
Then you get people with like gravelly voices. Say, take Dave Grohl, for example, right? So use him. He's got this really good textured voice, suits the genre that he's doing, it connects to the sound that he's trying to make. If you picked him up and put him in like an opera, then opera people would probably laugh at him, which sucks because he's an amazing singer in his own right and in his own lane. So, I mean, you were saying, is there a voice that could carry through all these genres?
Not necessarily. Like, just even within their genres themselves, it like, I find it fascinating. Like someone, like who's a really good example? Like, how many indie bands have you heard that try to emulate like Liam Gallagher, or do you know what I mean? Or
like
bands
setting
that
a trend.
do the kind of ballady indie thing, and they don't sound like Chris Martin.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like Chris Martin, I don't technically think has an incredible voice, but he's got an incredible voice. Like the tonal quality and.
So that's probably the idea of like connectivity. Some people just have a way of cutting through the dirge and they get the message of the song right to you. And if somebody has a unique sound, be that melodically as in with the band or just straight like with their voice, people inevitably will start to like copy that trend.
Yeah.
Like if you think about back in the day, like way back, Disney kind of style, everyone had this kind of like they wanted to sing like a bird. Think about like the Sound of Music, that kind of legit kind of sound, really really like high larynx, lovely kind of vibby kind of sound, exactly. And that was the trend for ages. And then someone else will come along, like say like a Tina Turner example, and it'll be like, I want rasp in my voice now, Janis Joplin, and then everyone starts to kind of get that sound. Nowadays, I would argue that's maybe like Ariana Grande has maybe set a bit of a tone with that really light kind of sound. It's almost gone back to the bird-like sound, but it's like, I don't want to say lazy, but
singers
lazy.
that are coming through just now are like I was talking to Liam Doyle about this, like how it's really like quiet, breathy, and spoken. Like if you think about that, that song that was number one like a few, like maybe a month ago or something, Driver's License.
Yeah, I actually did that music video. That was one music video that slipped through the net. But it was because I kept getting asked about it. But I mentioned something in that video as well that I just said about Ariana Grande. I used the word lazy. I don't mean lazy as in they're not doing anything, but everything sits like almost like a ventriloquist. I got my driver's license last week. You almost don't move your mouth at all to make that sound. Whereas if you were to open up that space, I got my driver's license last week, it sounds completely ridiculous because it doesn't suit what you're trying to do. But that seems to be the way that things are going, almost like a baby kind of sound. You know, like Halsey, have you heard her?
Yeah.
She's got that kind of thing going. Was that avocados and bananas? They're really like weird, lazy, breathy sound. I mean, it suits them though. I keep saying words like weird and lazy, and I need to get away from using words like that because I appreciate every single person's voice. But yes, it's a different way of singing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's funny how like when I was younger, like I would hear something that wasn't in the style I listened to or in the popular style and think that wasn't a good voice because it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do.
Yeah. That has been one of the biggest takeaways from doing the channel, is that there is no right or wrong way to sing, and there's to hold on to your own like aesthetic bias. It's really stifling. So every time I try and listen to a voice, I don't criticize people on my channel. I find what I like about a voice, and then I'll focus in on that. But it just opens up horizons, doesn't it? If you become less like dismissive of a voice as soon as you hear it.
Yeah.
But on that same kind of plane, we can't help what we like and what we don't like.
That's true.
Some voices just irritate us.
Weirdly, Jessie J covers both of things that I like and don't like. I actually think that there are a lot of songs where I feel like, I know you said that you don't feel like at times she connects, but I think there's some ballads that she's got where the message in the song does come across really well and she sings it really from a really powerful place. But yeah, I mean, I'm impressed, but like vocally when she does her like acrobatics and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think, because I feel like I come from a melodic place, I just kind of want the melody to be executed rather than reach all the notes in between.
Exactly. Like I feel almost like she doesn't like space at times. Like she has to fill everything with like what was it? No. It's like really, really fast. And it's amazing. I'm like, wow, that's like talent, but it's almost too much. And then she does songs like is it Big White Room? And she does a lot of that riffing kind of stuff as well, but she pairs it back enough that it's like not getting in the way. I think Jessie J's fantastic. I don't think she got a fair shake either, like with the industry. I think she was kind of written off for some reason.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Although she did reach like a good height, I think, as an artist. Like it's probably where you would want to get to.
Mm-hmm. Or when she did like Bang Bang.
Yeah.
I think she's with Ariana Grande and Nicki Minaj. And then, yeah, she should have just kept going like from that point onwards, but I don't know.
Demi Lovato, I'd say, is in the same sort of category as Jessie J. I think that she's weirdly as well, because she came from such a like Disney background. Like she just has this fucking wild range.
She does, and it's got such a rasp to it as well. Mm-hmm. She does quite like pained singing, you know, like she gets that raw emotion sound out using that texture in her voice. It's just like a joy. You
can still hear a lot of the Disney in her as well, though, because there's a lot of pronunciation like on the words. I'm quite lazy with my pronunciation. I think I'm a bit more like the lazy singing.
And the enunciation and all that, it's funny because it suits certain genres and it doesn't suit others. So like if you were to go in and sing the way that you sing in a musical, people will be like, what's he doing? But then in the same thread, if you get somebody that sings musical theatre and then they do like a pop song, sometimes it has that same effect, and you're like, you need to like chill.
Or theatre singer that sings in rock, you get Adam Lambert.
That man's voice though is mental.
Crazy good, man.
He sticks his tongue out to do like high notes, which you don't see many folk doing. I find it quite an unusual like sensation. But he loves it. So
I remember seeing him like before American Idol. I started watching that series like halfway through, and I remember at the time like googling him and found, I can't remember if it's like The Lion King or I don't think it's The Lion King. There was like a stage show that he done, and he's singing in that, and it's just fucking mind blowing. It's crazy that there's like how many people are out there that are just incredible singers that are just singing in some.
It's wild. It's mental. The thing with American Idol as well is the caliber of singers that go through that, and like then they can get like absolutely like hammered, and you're like, that person's got like a world class voice. Like if you put them on any other show in the world, they'd win.
Yeah.
But in America, it's like you got like half a note flat there, out.
Yeah.
It's wild. The standard's stupid.
Do you think the sort of like sub standard for singing started like here? Because like if you look at like Pop Idol, all the singers that made it into the bands and stuff were all like I mean, Girls Aloud were probably one of the greatest girl bands to come out of the UK, but like not
listen to them all individually. Man. That's another thing though, is the strength in numbers. See if you can get a bunch of voices that blend well together, you're golden. And then was it Nadine was probably the main like actual singer of Girls Aloud. Yeah. All the big belty stuff. Yeah. I mean they've all got qualities to their voice that's appealing, which is like the important part. I wouldn't say that any of them are like bad singers. But if you were to say put one of them, I'm not going to pick because I'm not going to throw that to the wolves. I'll do it for you, if you picked one of them and put them against like Beyonce.
Cheryl.
I was like, have a vocal battle. Yeah. It probably wouldn't turn out all that well for Girls Aloud.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they've not got...
Sorry, man.
That doesn't mean that they're not good at what they do. It's apples and pears. Like one man's hamburgers, another man's steak. Some people hate steak. Some people love hamburgers. Some people just want some Chewits, for God's sake.
Yeah.
You know?
Some people like chamomile tea.
Exactly.
No, I think that goes back to like kind of what you just said, like that it's about sometimes it can be about the tonal quality of what makes a good voice. Because I mean, Cheryl Cole or whatever her name is these days,
I think it's Cole
had
again.
a like decent career singing.
Great career. Like I'd swap careers.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd suit any of the outfits, but I'd give it a good go.
Reaction videos.
Imagine me singing with like a split trouser leg. I just seem to remember that outfit for some reason. And she had like a military hat on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was I said about that the better.
First kind of single, I think, man. I find it so weird sometimes that she ended up with Liam Payne, man.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I interviewed this guy called what's Ross's second name again? Ross Walker,
right?
Who's like I first kind of heard about him through Ella Henderson because he played drums for Ella Henderson, and then he auditioned for The Voice. He didn't get through, but he's like a session drummer for all these massive artists, but he's also an artist himself. But his cousin is Liam Payne. It's just so wild, man.
It's a very small world. Very small world.
And Liam done like this online show a few months ago, and Ross was like the opening act for it and stuff, and he's pure blew up and stuff now, man. It's crazy.
Wow, that's wild, amazing. Man.
Yeah,
it's funny the places singing and music and stuff can take you.
Yeah,
and having Liam Payne as a cousin.
Yeah. Yeah, helps.
I don't have any interesting relatives. I don't think. Well, I mean, they're interesting in their own right, not famous people though.
I think like one of my aunts done a hereditary like thing where she tried to find out like who we're related to and stuff. And my mum's maiden name is Wallace, and we are like directly related to William Wallace.
Well, I mean, that's quite a claim to fame.
Yeah. Shite singer though.
You're 1 degree of separation away from Mel Gibson.
That's true, man. Yeah. Should just start painting my face. Just for fucking.
Please do. It's the next podcast. Do it.
Mm-hmm. I'll paint my face when I get the silver platter.
Oh, it'll happen. It's so stupid. It's sitting there. I've not hung it up or anything. It needs to go somewhere. But where do you put it without it looking odd? In
your videos, man. You need to show off your
my wares.
Is it your attributes? Is that the right?
Accolades.
Accolades, that's it.
Sure,
showing off your attributes, I think, is a bit of a
that's a different kind of video.
Yeah. Keep that for your OnlyFans.
Yeah. I think I'd have to pay people to look at my OnlyFans, not them pay me, for sure.
I know, man. Some people out there making wild money. I think it's so weird, like how much has changed since the last time we spoke. Like, I'm not even able to do these in person anymore, man. And
that's insane. We had no idea.
It doesn't even feel that long ago.
I know.
I think you were like, was maybe. That? Well, I started the podcast in like December 2019, and all the interview ones were 2020. So they were like they had to have been within a couple of months.
The first couple of months.
Yeah.
And I was about 50,000 then.
Yeah.
Something like that, 45, 50,000 subscribers. So I've doubled that and also been locked in the house. It's been a wild shift in priorities though, hasn't it? Like,
yeah,
you do kind of have to take a wee second to like take stock.
It's one of the reasons that I wanted to have another child, man, is like when society like breaks down, you start to realise like the things that matter the most, man, and it's a good time to get it done.
There's not a lot on, so why not?
Just do that. I'm also trying to learn how to drive just now.
Oh, that's driving's good, easy.
Yeah,
easy. Are you doing it with an instructor? Hopefully.
I've had my first lesson yesterday, and it went pretty well.
So what did you learn in your first lesson?
The guy said to me that usually instructors will just, I mean, I don't know if this is true, and he was just trying to like flirt with me or whatever, but he was saying usually instructors are, they'll just like take you through the book and tell you what everything is in the car. But I actually got to do that plus drive. So I got to
Nice.
drive around this little, just like what they called, industrial estate.
Oh, cool.
It's quite busy as well, so I got to experience like having to stop, not just stall.
Oh, you froze.
Yeah, you too, man.
I got that you were experiencing something, so
Yeah, I got to experience stopping, ironically, because it froze. Yeah.
Driving's a good one. Once you've got your license, it's like getting a passport. You can just go anywhere, do anything, jump in the car, go to the shops and get a big shop. That's a fun one.
Definitely.
Like everything else, you have to like plan like it's a military operation, like trains and shiz.
Yeah. So Katie drives, man. So like I do get to experience it, but I don't know. I don't know if you think about stuff like this, but like I hate being a passenger because it's quite degrading. Like Katie, like if Katie reverses into a parking space, like I kind of feel like a dog, like looking out the window being reversed. Like it's so weird, man. I hate it, and then like it makes me laugh when I see other people being reversed as well. It's like all the liberties being taken away. Funny, man.
I'm not. I'm always the driver, so
Right.
maybe maybe
Next
I
time,
don't have that thing.
have a look in another car when they're reversing, man.
There was one time I went to the shop with my mum. This was years ago, and she drove, but she got back in the car and sat in the driver's seat and just stared at me. Was like, so I stared back. I was like, what? Well, I was like, well, what? Let's go. I was like, you are in the driver's seat. And she was so used to me driving that she like just assumed she was a passenger, which is worrying when she's then about to go and drive. But that's how much of the driver I am. Even if I'm in the passenger seat, I'm considered that I should be the one doing
So you
the
get to
driving.
enjoy being a passenger because you drive so much.
I love getting a taxi.
I get to experience all the hardships of being a passenger. Like
I've never heard of it described like being reversed. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. So one of the things I was going to ask you about was like, what have you been doing to kind of sustain the longevity of your voice? Because it seems to be something I'm struggling with. I'm really worried about going back to gigging, to be honest.
Oh, I think everybody is. Everybody is. That's going to be like a real test. The longevity of my voice. So vocal health in general is quite a lot about prep. So making sure that you rest your voice like properly, making sure that you're not eating things that can exacerbate it, drinking stuff that you shouldn't be drinking. I mean,
what are some of those examples?
So a lot of folk would say stay away from like overly spicy foods, things that have the potential to burn your like pharynx, for example. If you get a chili stuck back there, then you could end up with like a lot of issues. Dairy. Would
this be like on the day?
Just in general, like if you're singing, then you're wanting to make sure that you're good to go before the day. So you're gonna want to like keep it in quite a good routine. Only eat this stuff like as the exception and not the rule. So like occasionally. I mean, the other thing is that you don't want to completely like live your life as a slave to being like overly protective of your voice, because I mean, I think that's just almost as unhealthy, like mentally. Do you know what I mean? But in general, make sure you're well rested. Make sure you're really well hydrated. If something tickles, like while you're singing, stop. Use lots and lots of fry or slack fold. That is really good for like a vocal reset. Siren So an NG, up and down your range. That was a tiny portion, by the way.
Yeah.
You can go higher than that, because that allows you to stretch your vocal folds safely, because you're not taking in any kind of voicing in there. It's very, very safe. And what's the last thing I would say? Yeah, just take it easy. If you've got a 4-day set of gigs and you start going berserk on day 1, by day 4 you'll be in trouble. So pace yourself.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's ways to obviously use your voice in a more kind of productive way, like as in using bits of your cartilage, like your cricoid cartilage, to belt rather than trying to get there in other ways. Working with twang instead of trying to project with other ways. Twang is a really healthy way to get a punchy, projected, kind of pinched sound without having to put more effort into it. But a lot of folk don't utilize these different tools in their tool belt, and then you're essentially just like fighting against the current,
Yeah.
That's a huge question. I could talk about that all day long.
I think one of the things that's worrying me is like the only times that I've really been singing are when I sit down to write, or or in the car with Katie or whatever, and we've got songs on, like I'll try and sing along. But especially when I'm sitting down to write, or there's been a couple of times that I've played covers on like a live stream, just covers that I would usually play in bars, and I've been like, it's not just like I forgot how to play a song or how to like what the words are. I've actually forgot how to sing a song, how I would sing it to sustain my voice over the length of the track. It's really, really weird, man, because like you get into a routine of using certain like vowels and stuff for certain words that maybe other people wouldn't use because that helps sing the note or whatever. Yeah, and I forgot all of that, man. It's so weird, like what can happen in like fucking a year.
It's kind of like riding a bike, though. I think you'll maybe have a couple of wobbles on the road, but you'll get back into the swing of it. And the other thing is that people talk about like nodules and vocal nodes. They are a lot harder to get than they're made out to be. A lot of folk think that like you cough 3 times and there you'll get a node. Like it's not quite as easy as that. You have to really, really thrash your voice night after night after night after night and not look after yourself. But I would say if you go back to gigging and your voice is just absolutely hammered, then go and see somebody, like see a vocal coach. Come to me, or go and see a ENT if it's really, really sore. But I think it's just one of those things, like we're all panicking about it, and I think the idea of it is almost as intimidating as doing it. Like, what if I don't know what plug it goes in? Like, where do I stand? What do I do? How do I talk to the crowd? Well, apparently, if you want a lo-fi sound, just shove the mic under your nose. Just do it that way the whole time.
Great advice, man. That's really good advice. Yeah, man. Like, it's actually kind of exciting in a way because it's bringing back the feelings of like when you first start gigging. Do you know what I mean? When you're like holding onto the mic and it's like you've been electrocuted, you just are not letting go at all. And like, it's going to be crazy for people attending all these things. They're going to like they're all going to be like the first people to go out and actually celebrate properly. I know. I think we're going to have to get like fences erected around the stage. Definitely, man. I might just get like those protective shields, not for like spit, but just to keep people away from a riot shield, the full length one. It'd be good for weddings anyway, man. Yeah. Hopefully there is some sort of restriction that stops people from coming up and try to steal the mic now. I think you could literally just say no. This just mic is COVID. Yeah. No other users. Unless you're good. Yeah, unless I'm struggling, in which case pass it round. Yeah. Everyone have a shot.
That has happened once or twice before, where it's a guy's been like, "Oh, can I sing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you can." Like, go for it. As long as the bride says it's okay.
Like, if we'll usually get someone up if it's like a family member of one of the bride or groom that plays, and they want to just play a song so that they could say they done that.
Yeah,
it's a good opportunity to like get a break.
Exactly. You just have to stand at the side like, yeah.
Do another one. Just do another one.
Or they go, can you come and do it with me? I'm like, that is not the deal.
Yeah.
The deal is I sit here watching you and you go for it.
There's a wedding we played in the groom. The groom used to play in a band, and him and his band got up like maybe 3 times throughout the night and played songs.
Amazing.
So good.
We had a bride on the drums.
On the drums?
A full wedding dress and everything.
That's brilliant, man.
I know. She was really good.
Is it played in Butte? The other Butte? I'm trying to remember.
That's quite a distance to go.
House or something. No, it's not Stuart House. Stuart House is maybe one of the flats in Cumbernauld. It's not down there. Is it Mount Stuart? I don't know. It's the big fucking
no idea
hotel. It looks like the castle from Beauty and the Beast on Butte. And we didn't end up starting till like fucking 9 o'clock at night or something, and we finished at like 12.
The dream.
Half-hour break.
No, you need to stop. We've got a buffet to serve. Okay. No worries.
Damn, I really wanted to play.
Yeah. Had all the hits, all the ones you know.
Exactly. It's been a pretty quick hour, man.
It's wild, isn't it?
I know.
I ramble a lot though. So
no, not at all, man. It really has, man.
I hope so.
I'm going to rewatch so I can learn something. Yeah. Do you want to let folks know your ats and your socials?
Sure.
Maybe your OnlyFans and stuff.
So my OnlyFans is pending. It'll probably be ready once I've been in the gym for about 3 years. But you can find me on YouTube. It's
a really good name for an OnlyFans start.
Stolen. Consider that stolen. My YouTube channel is just my name, Sam Scott-Thorne, session singer and vocal coach. And I have got an Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, and TikTok, which I don't use very much, but that's all at SST Vocal Coach.
Cool. And is that where people can find you as a coach as well?
If you want lessons, it's sstvocalcoach.com.
Okay.
You're better at this than me. And where do they find you?
I'm like 30 episodes in, so I think that's considered a professional.
Lead me through this.